So, welcome everybody. When we did this last year, we were in Cape Town, and it actually happened to be my very, very first day on the job back in South Africa. In fact, when I did the intro, I think I had actually been in the role for about 8 minutes. And having traveled from California to Cape Town over the course of the last 48 hours, or maybe even worse, was that I'd actually overslept. The conference started at 9. I was in Sea Point in a hotel at 25 to 9, having just woken up. I actually made it to Camps Bay by 9. So it was one hell of a first day, I must admit, and incredibly daunting to see so many people who had come to hear all about what Google was about in South Africa. So I'm slightly less daunted today, but only because I was here half an hour early. Lesson learned. But really daunted to see how many people are here today. It's absolutely fantastic to have such a fantastic turnout. I think just looking at the seats, we're pretty much 100%, and we were oversubscribed. And I think it's just testament to how much passion and energy and interest there is in what we can do online in South Africa. And that's what I really wanted to talk about, not for too long, but just highlight some of the opportunities as we see it in South Africa and some of the interesting things that are happening. So having been back here, effectively since November and away from South Africa for about 12 years in the UK, I've actually had to relearn quite a lot, as I imagine most people do when they've been away for so long. So what have we learned? What have I learned in 2011? I have learned how not to sing the national anthem. Now, you know, if I look at this video, it brings a smile to my face in so many different ways. One of which is we owe a massive debt of gratitude as Google and YouTube to Art Matthews. Because on this particular day, it was our fastest trending South African video ever, which was absolutely amazing. I think he managed to achieve something like 100,000 views in about, I don't know, it was about 48 hours or so, which was fantastic. Fantastic for him because he got lots of free publicity. And you may think, no, it was all negative. Not at all. We'll talk a little bit later about the positive impact that would have happened here. But all of these views, 160,000 or so, happened in South Africa. I think that's phenomenal. And it happened really quickly. So it's quite possible to have a viral success. Well, it depends how you define success, I suppose. But to have a viral video in South Africa. What else have I learned? Okay, so fortunately, the actual address is too small. And in the spirit of competition, I have a number of plus ones here. Anybody who recognizes that street in this place in South Africa gets a free drink tonight. Okay, so.
Ali Wyatt Street in California.
Okay, so the man with the glasses, Toby Shasha, he's normally very loud, and I'm glad you can hear him. On this side, anybody who recognizes it? Okay, so you can read it. You all got free drinks tonight. So what's absolutely amazing is that this is a street in Palabora. Palabora, for those of you who don't know, is about 5-6 hours, or probably in the state of the roads, maybe 7-8 these days, right near the Kruger National Park. And it absolutely blew me away when I discovered that Street View had extended all the way to a place like Palabora. Now this is the house I grew up in. It didn't look quite like this at the time. There wasn't a wall. I think it was just a fence, and it was perhaps even dustier than it looks there. But this is the power of technology, of things like this that can really, I suppose, take you to places that either you've been before or never been before. And in such far-flung places as well. I was, as I say, absolutely blown away, and it brought back quite a few, fortunately, mostly pleasant memories. That being said, what's making all of this possible? Of course, there are huge numbers of people online in the world. But what's happening in South Africa? So as of last year, depending on who you speak to, and Arthur Goldstuck is one of those guys who tends to speak a lot about how many people are online. Last year we were talking about 6.8 million. Speaking to Arthur recently, he was talking about perhaps 8 million people in South Africa online by the end of this year. That's a debatable figure depending on who you speak to, as I said, but that's still quite a lot, and there's huge growth that's happening and about to happen for a number of different reasons. And possibly the primary reason why that growth is so substantial lies here in mobile. Because there are so many people on mobile in South Africa right now. Anything between 95 to 100% penetration of mobile in South Africa. 16% on smartphones right now. And that's growing super fast. That means that that number up there could well accelerate. And if it accelerates at the rate that it's accelerating at the moment, by 2020, you could have upwards of 20 million people online in South Africa. Now, I think that's probably conservative, given the rate of growth and given the rate at which data has become less expensive and at the rate at which speeds are increasing. So, pretty important numbers to bear in mind, particularly as a business, because if you're not taking advantage of a 6.2 million person opportunity right now, or an 8 million opportunity right now, perhaps when it comes to 2020, you're not going to be in a position to take advantage of a 20 million person opportunity, and that's really important. Now, all of that means that it's possible to consume vast amounts of data. I strongly suspect that Nelson is in a better position to tell you what an exabyte or a zettabyte is than I am. But it's a big number with lots of zeros. And there's a huge amount of data that's been indexed, consumed, and produced every second of every day as a result of these big numbers here. But what does that mean for us? I think a lot of us think of, particularly in business, of digital as just another media that we can use to speak to our potential consumer or to our potential audience. And you know what? Let's think about what we're doing right now. Who's tweeting? Anybody tweeting? Anybody? Who's on Google Plus right now? Phew. I actually think there are always more people on Google Plus than on tweeting. That's pretty cool. Okay, so digital, that's something that's happening on digital. What does it mean? It means that it's not just a media, it's not just something that you use to channel your message in the same way you use television. People are interacting all the time. New content is being created all the time. And as a result, digital changes everything for a business because it gives you completely new opportunities that did not exist with other types of media. What makes this also different? Well, for one thing, digital media is fast. It's updated immediately. You can respond immediately. And if you think about speed, just in terms of download speeds, that too in South Africa is becoming much less of a problem than it was in times gone by. And having recently just trialed MTN's LTE network very, very briefly, I have to say, that was incredibly exciting. If that's possible, that brings a whole world of opportunity to South Africa in a way that wasn't possible, even, well, it's not possible now, but it will be possible soon. Digital media is also addressable. It means you can target people very, very accurately. You can understand who your consumer is, you can understand their behavior, you can understand what they're looking for, and you can target that very, very effectively. Very, very different from putting a full-page ad in the Sunday Times and hoping for the best. Digital media is also social. We're tweeting, we're on Facebook, we're G+ing, we're doing everything that allows us to communicate with different people and receive feedback all the time. And that's as a business what makes it so powerful, is the ability to get feedback on what we're doing, whether it's from a customer service point of view. F&B is a classic example in South Africa. If you tweet F&B, typically they will respond pretty much immediately, whether you're looking for a new account, whether you've got a problem, and it's actually helped them build a completely different space, or occupy a different space in the retail banking sector, or I would argue that it has, because they're making use of digital media in a very, very compelling and social way. So for all of these reasons, digital media is completely different. If you think about the barriers to change, what's making it hard to adopt digital media as a business in South Africa? And we look through a couple of these points. I think a number of these are actually changing. And I like not to think so much of these as barriers to change, as right now as opportunities that we need to address. We've mentioned speed already as an opportunity from a digital media point of view. Now, of course, there's the speed of actual response, the speed of being able to post and produce your content, make it available to people. But the physical speed is also, I think, much less of a problem, as I said, than in the past. It might be said that economics is a problem. Let's think about how economics might be a problem. If the growth of the economy is a determinant of how successful you're going to be as a business, well, You might argue that we're not going to be as successful as we'd like because the economy is not growing so fast. But does anybody know which country in the world is one of the fastest growing digital economies? There's a plus one for this, too. All of those countries are great, but they've also got fabulous economies right now. Let's think about a country that's economy is going down the tubes. Ah, we have Greece. There we go. Yes. Greece's economy in the news all the time for all the wrong reasons. Yet, their digital media sector is growing incredibly fast. Why is that? It's because of all the other reasons we talked about. It's because it's addressable. It's because you can speak directly to your consumer, because you can get feedback, and because you can measure the response, which you simply can't do in traditional media. So all of that cash that used to be spent doing things that you can't measure is now being put into digital media, which you can. And that's incredibly powerful for businesses that still have to advertise in a recession, because you can't just stop advertising. But what you do want to do is you want to make sure that the advertising you do is absolutely relevant and that you drive a return on investment from it. If we think about skills, I think when I arrived, I was perhaps under the illusion that it might be difficult to fill an office of Googlers in South Africa. And I was completely wrong. In the last 10 months, we've been able to build an office almost entirely of South Africans. All of the skills that we need exist here. And we and a lot of other people in the industry are doing as much as we can to build that skill base. Nelson referenced a number of those projects. If we think about Embona, if we think about the work we're doing with universities, I think the skill set is actually increasing at a rapid rate. And that means that that's no longer the kind of barrier that perhaps it was. Similarly, so technology. In the past, technology was a real barrier to change. But these days, the technology you have in your hands is probably the technology you also use for business. And as a result, it's the kind of thing that you want to use. It's easy to use, it's intuitive. I don't think technology is the kind of barrier it is. The only one here that really concerns me slightly is the last one. And that's because of what's called the hippo phenomenon. Anybody understand or know what the hippo phenomenon is? Another one. Past us. There may even be a few hippos in the audience. So the hippo phenomenon is the highest paid person's opinion. And typically, who's the barrier to change in your organization when it comes to digital media? It's possibly the hippo, exactly. Indeed. So, this is the hippo phenomenon. And the inertia that comes from making decisions based on the fact that you're most senior, or because you're doing what, because you like the color blue, or how do you decide which website's going to go live? Well, I like blue, we'll do that one. That's not a good way to make a decision. And what we should all be doing is evangelizing for change in our organizations and making sure that the most senior people who can make decisions, that carry budgets, are not barriers to change. They understand all the factors that we've just been talking about. So, if we do all of this sort of stuff, truly digital can make you better at all sorts of things in your business. It can make you better at strategy, marketing, make you better at sales, earn you more money, and just generally overall in business. Let's have a look at a few interesting opportunities in South Africa. So I'm reliably informed that a maxi dress is a dress that goes down to the floor. Okay, that's right. Which stands to reason maxi as opposed to mini, I suppose, is an opposite there. But more importantly, as a digital media guy, I was quite interested in the trends for people looking for maxi dresses in South Africa. So using a tool called Insights for Search, I was able to establish what the seasonal patterns were. And in 2008, there seemed to be a little bit of interest, but perhaps not so much. And you could establish the seasonality as summer came to the fall. 2009, oh my goodness, a little bit more interest. And it's spiking. Look what happened last year. Somebody, Fashini's obviously did some massive above-the-line campaign for maxi dress, or something like that. But if we look at what's happening this year, the graph is even steeper. Now this tells you quite a few different things. This is real-time insight. if you're able to use insights like these for your business, and you'd notice that this trend was increasing year on year, quite possibly as a retailer of fashion, you might have invested more in maxi dresses. And certainly if I'd invested in maxi dresses down here, I'd probably be back in Cape Town on the beach. But this is something that I think is really actionable. Using this sort of insight is what we can use to drive businesses, and there are entire business models that are based on this kind of insight. Let's look at another example of what's been happening in the television market in South Africa. This is just using queries. So these are the searches that people type into Google every day in South Africa. It can tell us what's happening in a marketplace. So, what have we got? LED TVs are here, red LCD, 3D TV blue. Over here, Samsung launches line of LED TVs. I wonder if something this is an above-the-line media campaign that has a huge impact on their digital activity. Now that's really important to know. Above the line actually drives online activity, and phenomenally so. Let's have a look at some of the other incidents. 2010, 3D TVs are launched at the Consumer Electronics Show. South Africans are really interested in what happens overseas. Another spike of interest. This is all happening right now in real time at that point. May 2010, 3D TVs launched into the SA market. Once again, huge interest. But look at what's happening since. So you can see here between LCD and LED, there's been a bit of a shift. And around about here, you can see that LED TVs have started to win out. So if I'm a retailer right now, and I'm thinking about Christmas sales, and what I'm going to push, what am I going to push? I'm going to push the one with the most search volume, surely, because I know the demand is there. And the demand for LED TVs is growing much faster than it is for LCD. This is the kind of actionable insight that's possible to use in your business right now. So one more. Searches for flowers in South Africa. Valentine's Day. Now look how small that is. It's very interesting. Mother's Day. There's another spike. What could that possibly be? Any guesses? What is the next?
Christmas.
What could South Africans possibly buy more flowers for than Mother's Day? A new day, obviously, or Lion's Day. Whoops. Indeed, Secretary's Day. Can you believe it? We value our secretaries more than our mothers. So there you go. So these are real-time insights. This is something you can glean from search results. And once again, if you're selling flowers, and guys who sell flowers no doubt will know this, but these sorts of insights are possible across all sorts of different businesses. And I just wanted to share some of these sorts of things with you. So just to follow on that, I think one of the key things that we're seeing is that because of so much search volume happening around so many different products, there's a real change happening around how people decide to buy a product. In the past, there used to be a phenomenon called the first moment of truth. That used to happen when people stood in the store and actually looked at the shelf. And of course, that's when you decided to buy. You would look at the product, touch it, feel it, and you'd make a decision. But of course, things have changed fundamentally. Now there's a digital shelf. And I just use this as an example. I was looking for a mountain bike, back to South Africa, obviously, going to try and get fit, get out there. Ran a search in google.co.uk. Ads galore. Fantastic organic results, reviews. In South Africa, ooh dear. Not so much. Who sells mountain bikes there? Okay. Perhaps we should have invited them specifically. Point being, this digital shelf in South Africa is still pretty empty. And that's a problem. Because so many consumers are making decisions before they enter the store. And in fact, in research that we've done in the States, we've seen a 50% increase in the number of people who actually make a decision before they get into the store. So that point of there being a zero moment of truth. So something that happens before you get into the store and when you make a buying decision. It's happening all over the world. And the faster our internet economy grows, the more important this will become as a business, is actually attracting consumers when they make decisions before they get to a store. So incredibly important concept. But what's next? There are a couple of successes that we've had in South Africa and in Africa that I think are truly phenomenal, that aren't just about AdWords, aren't just about selling the products. I'm not sure if anybody's heard about Nollywood. You've got Hollywood, Bollywood, Nollywood. 3 places that produce more video than anywhere else in the world. There's a guy in Nigeria who decided to buy the digital rights for distributing old Nollywood films. He's now uploaded these to YouTube, created a channel, and from his ad share revenue alone, from the ads that show next to his videos, he's making a 7-figure dollar number every year. Now, that is phenomenal. When we're talking about technology being a barrier to entry, this is what I mean, is that technology of this actually facilitates new business models that make it possible to do completely different things. Technology is no longer the barrier it used to be. I don't know if anybody's heard of or used the Six-Pack Factory. There's a couple of us in the office are trying this at the moment. So, obviously unsuccessfully. It's very, very difficult. But here's a man who's South African, who has created a YouTube channel. And I believe his current dollar revenues are in the region of about $5,000 a month. So $5,000 a month, which is not bad in rand. Now he does this based on uploading 1 new video a week. I think as his business has ramped up and he's realized that there was real potential, he's probably uploading a few more. But this was started as a result of him taking some video of his own weight loss program. As he became more and more successful, he realized that there was an appetite, there was an audience for what he was doing on YouTube. He posted the videos and he thought there must be a whole lot of people out there like me who need to lose 45 kilograms, which is what he lost. He posted all of the exercises that he did and has continued. So 2 fantastic business successes that have happened without having to use anybody else's technology, using existing platforms, but having great ideas and spotting great opportunities. So this is the last plus one. So the question is, what is the most important lesson from this video? Wear a helmet. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we all know this stuff. Wear a helmet. You know, look left, look right. There's enough all of that for you. And YouTube can make you famous. I think you deserve one just because that was a great answer. But the most important lesson, I think, now just think about this, right? The most important lesson is that timing is everything. Right? If this had happened half a second before or half a second later, no one would be famous here. The buck would not be famous. The mountain biker wouldn't be famous. And we wouldn't have achieved, and when I looked at this recently, okay, so 10.3 million views. That's not so much, man. It's only on about 11 million now. So this is huge. This is fantastic. What does it teach us? Well, timing is everything, but wear a head cam at all times. So I think that there are phenomenal opportunities in South Africa. If you look at the different types of things we've just discussed, the barriers to change, I think, are dropping all the time. I think it's become much easier to do digital business in South Africa. However, I do think that there are a number of opportunities that aren't being addressed simply because the data isn't being used correctly. And I showed a couple of examples of how data can be used. And if in your businesses you go back and use the tools that are available to you to really interrogate insights in your business, really interrogate what you think people might be looking for when they're looking for it, but not just when they're looking for it, what sort of content do those people consume? And by targeting them effectively, you can really drive additional revenue, real return on investment for your business. Now, I've spoken a lot about some of the commercial opportunities, but I just wanted to leave you with one thing that we're incredibly proud of that happened this year. And something that we learned is it's possible to do virtually something near impossible in a very, very short period of time. We all know the story that the Dalai Lama was invited to South Africa to come and celebrate Archbishop Tutu's birthday with him, but also to participate in an inaugural speech that he was going to deliver at the University of the Western Cape. I think it was called the inaugural Peace Lecture. Now, this wasn't possible for one reason or another. Now, through the efforts of many Googlers, we were able to make something really special happen. And I just wanted to share a clip from what happened on that day with you.
I already told them about you. I heard you.
And while it is a real pity that His Holiness cannot be here, we are so grateful for the world of technology that has come to us and that we can have this conversation.
Now this I really very much enjoy. Although physically long distance, but I can see your face.
I just wanted to find out from you, why does the Chinese government fear you?
Some Chinese officials describe me as a demon. I immediately respond, yes, I have a
How do we learn how to build a culture of peace?
It's actually very straightforward. Let women take over.
I think let women rule over states.
I would like to ask you one more thing. If you were going to give a gift from your heart to your very special 80-year-old friend here,
please live long. Your 19th birthday, I'm looking forward. At that time, don't forget, send me invitation. Then we can test your government.
Thank you so much. It's absolutely incredible what can be done with great technology. And we have with us someone today. Oh, I shall leave the stage. Thank you.